You have any questions?
No.
Gosh, my face is really big up there.
No, I'm like scooting my chair back because mine was too.
Like, hello. There we go. Okay. All right. Welcome to Sacred Earth Journey Roundtable. I'm Anna Saladino, your host, and I want to welcome you. We are going to be having a great conversation with a very long time and dear friend of mine, Brittany B. And I am currently recording from Alexandria, Louisiana, because I have started the because I have started the Sacred Earth Journey across America, Southern Corridor. And today was my first travel day. First hotel was a squash, so I had to leave that one and come to this one. And if you are interested in finding out more about the Sacred Earth Journey across America, where I'll just be going around and learning about all the cultures in America, you can go to sacredearthjourney.com and then go to the menu and go to Sacred Earth Journey Across America, or SEJ Journey Across America, whatever it is. You can support, you can follow in a lot of ways. There's a Spotify playlist where you can join as a collaborator. You can buy my next cappuccino. You can fill my next tank of gas. Anything like that. If you know of someone that needs to be on the show along the Southern Corridor, please reach out and let me know. So without further ado, Brittany B., it is your morning, and there's your lovely friend in the background.
That is my puppy Savannah.
Nice. Good name, too.
Yeah.
So, Brittany, where are you at right now?
I am in Cagayan de Oro, which is in the southern Philippines, in a region called Mindanao.
Okay. Um, and why is your puppy named Savannah?
So I think it was like 2 months ago. My neighbor actually found three puppies under my truck. They were like 6 weeks old, still nursing. And we kind of asked around, like, is anyone going to take them? I wasn't really in the market for three puppies, but no one would take care of them. And here in the Philippines, there's so many street dogs, and they don't treat dogs like pets usually, or like how Americans treat pets.
Okay.
Anyway, so I kept all three, and my teammate, it was, we're just like, we had just moved in. We're in the middle of hosting, like it was very overwhelming. We were about to have 9 guests 2 days later. And so she just was like, we're going to name them the places where you're from and where you live. So it's Savannah, Georgia, and Philly. And then the cutest one, Savannah, because that's my favorite. So
Nice. Well, um, so you're in Mindanao. You had been working in that village for how long? It's been a while.
yes, so 2.5 years, so 3 years in January.
Okay. And where were you before that?
I was in Manila, and since 2019, I was in language and culture school. So my goal was always to come to Mindanao, but COVID hit while I was still in language school. My team kind of fell apart, and so I was home for like a year. And then when I came
Ah,
back, I just came straight down here.
okay. So very briefly, tell us what you do in Tagalog.
It's like, all right, so nagtatrabaho ako para sa human trafficking. Kaya nag-prevention kasama ang police by ang mga seminars at community outreach at nag-provide um, kami ng toiletry kits at rescue kits sa police para sa anak ng rescue.
All right. So that means and.
Yeah,
Okay. So now go ahead and translate for
yeah.
us. So there were a lot of English words. What's going on?
Yeah, some of the words it's kind of like in Spanish. If you don't know, you just add an O. And so we just say we speak Taglish. And so you just add a nog or mog like in front of the verb. And so
Okay.
down here, they actually speak Bisaya, and Tagalog's like the trade language,
Uh,
um, which I can still speak it when I'm out, but most people, um, it's almost like if you're like people from Manila only speak Tagalog. They have no local dialect. So they people in the province almost have like a chip on their shoulder where they don't want to speak Tagalog because sometimes Manila people think less of people outside of Manila. So a lot of people would rather speak English. So like I'm losing so much Tagalog. Like I try to speak it with my teammate just for
yeah.
practice, and I can use like so some words, right? Like I don't if I'm gonna say prevention or trafficking, like we do just say trafficking in
Yeah.
English because that word, I guess it's a newer version, so it wouldn't really be like a Tagalog word. Like traffic would just be tropic, which is
Okay.
just like cars on the street, right? Um, so anyway, so that's why, yeah, I definitely just speak Taglish, and then if I ask most people, they would rather speak to me in English down here.
Yeah.
So
I ran into that in Egypt especially the young kids. They wanted I'm trying to use the Arabic and they just are wanting to do the English is like, no, but I need Arabic. So,
yeah,
okay, go
yeah.
ahead. Go ahead.
So in English, so I work in fighting human trafficking. We partner with the police and we hold prevention seminars, and we do part of community outreach with the police. So literally their job is to go out into communities and to teach um, kids options to join in gangs and girls to be
Mm,
um, into forced prostitution. And we the police do it by just sharing the gospel, saying like this is where you find your hope, teaching kids this is where you find your value, and that's their job. That's part of like what they're like commanded to do down here. And so it's a great way for us to partner with them. And so that's our biggest focus. Like right now, I
mm,
am in a safe house that we use for rescued, online exploited, and sexually abused kids. But and there's certainly a need. Like we can sleep
yeah.
9 children here, and then we have
Wow.
cottages that we can hold for adults or for like over 18. If they need a little more
Mm,
privacy, they can have their own space. But
nice.
I so we want to meet the need, but also I never want a child to be used in a way God did not intend them to be used in. So like our
Wow.
main focus is the prevention, through partnering with police and social workers.
So did I hear you right when did I hear you say that the police are they're sharing the gospel as a police officer, like in uniform? And is
Yes.
this so are they local police or like who are they employed by?
Yeah, they're local police. So here the police are broken up by different areas of town. So the main area we work in is an area called Kogon. It is a high Muslim population. My city, it's a city of over 1 million. It's pretty split half and half because it's a big um, urban area, and so a lot of times, like maybe somewhere further out, and in this region, it's more like 80-20 or 90-10, like Muslim, non-Muslim. But in the public market, almost all of the stalls are run by Muslims, and so this one part of town, if you're not in school, if you're under 5, then those kids just have to go to sit in the stall with their parents. And that's like
Okay.
16, 18-hour days. And so the kids,
Wow.
they're not going to stay in the stall the whole time. They kind of wander around and play
Mm,
with other kids. Well, the police noticed there was a high number of reported kidnappings. Like literally kids, like it's so cliche, but it happens. They're lured into a van with candy by a stranger and they're kidnapping
yeah.
them. And they're doing it to low income kids that the families
Mm,
may not have the means to get them, or they're
wow.
just ignored. And so in this certain area, Kogon, the police, they started a day center at the police station with 2 social workers there, and it's basically just like babysitting the kids all day so they're not kidnapped. And
Mm,
so that's one thing we go and do. And so we met whenever we have groups and we go out to the market and take them to get street food. Anytime you have a lot of white people walking in an area, it draws attention. So we just have a police
yeah.
presence around us, and it's mainly just for petty stuff, like so they don't get pickpocketed, or there's a lot of people wanting selfies or things like that. And so
Yeah.
have like, it's not like super dangerous. It's just we draw
Yeah.
attention. And so anyway, 2 of those police officers, they're our protection. If we have a team, they are the ones that were telling us about this and said, if you want to come share Jesus with these kids, and just entertain them, like do crafts or games, like that would be a huge help. And
Oh,
um,
wow.
we definitely took that opportunity because we were invited to come share the gospel. And
Yeah.
then as we got to know them, they were telling us they go out in the communities because a lot of times there's a lot of in lower income families, just verbal abuse of the kids, saying
Mm.
like you're just costing, like kids in school and they cannot contribute to the house, so they were saying like you're just costing me money, I can't afford to feed you.
Oh,
And so sometimes those girls, they find their value in joining a gang and being the gang prostitute, or they'll run away and they're running to a trafficker. And
mm,
so, and then the boys, they want to join a gang. They find that's where that lifestyle looks appealing to them, in its
mm.
community. And so a lot of times these gangs, they're trafficking as well. So the police have been, like, they've been ordered, or one of their like jobs every week is to go into those communities. And they were just told like, hey, we need to do community outreach. We take rice and canned goods, and then we educate the community. Like EJ, my teammate, and I usually speak as well.
Mm.
And just the the police we work with, there's 4 main ones. 2 of them are believers, and they'll just go and preach. And their bosses, the government knows they do this, and they know that the only way to find value or to give kids in that situation where there's not much of a future is to give them a
Mm.
hope of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And so
Is
they're,
is the government like what is the government system, and is it dictated by a religion, or is it non like a
yeah,
s-
we're in a democracy.
separation
It's just
democracy?
like the U.S. We have
Okay.
president, Senate, Congress, and so then, but down here it's, um, you can be very autonomous because the Philippines is made up of over 7,600 islands. I'm
Wow.
on one of the biggest ones, and so usually like an island is just broken down and kind of ruled by a mayor, or even here we call communities barangays. So if it's a very small island, they would just have a barangay captain. But
Okay.
because I'm in a really big island, our city is governed by a mayor, and it's just very similar to the US system. And one problem is there's no judicial, wait, not, there's no juvenile punishment. There's no
Mm,
juvenile court. And
mm.
so a like a trafficker knows if you can get like kind of get a 17-year-old or a 16-year-old to
Oh,
traffic for
yeah.
them, they get caught, nothing happens to them. They are giving a really strong talking to, their parents have to come pick them up,
Mm.
but there's
So
no
they're
punishment.
manipulating the system to their benefit. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the one
Wow.
difference. And I think crimes are getting more heinous at a young age. Like something needs to be done. We just had like
Mm.
the first school shooting like a couple of months ago, and they literally, it was underage kids, and they don't know what to do. And they're still like, just what do we, there's no place to put them, like maybe send them to a children's home.
Mm.
But anyway, so there's a lot of that's a big problem, is like underage
Mm.
crimes. And then um, just the adults are very, definitely manipulating, teenagers. So
Mm.
Um,
I see that in so many different places. So let me ask you, when did you start, like at what age did you start traveling internationally?
when I was 7. So my
Yeah.
grandparents own a travel agency, and when I was 7, my grandfather said, like his goal for me was I was always needed to be to as many countries as I was old. So when I was 7, he took
Oh,
me to Europe, and we went to 7 countries, and then it just kind of started from there, like traveling.
that's so cool. That's a cool idea.
Yeah.
What in, oh gosh, I have so many questions. Okay, so you started when you were 7. Looking back, like to when you were 7 years old, looking back over all of those years, like what do you think is probably the most impactful thing that you have learned from the time you were 7 till now in your international traveling?
My grandfather, even if we were going to a nice bougie vacation in France, or we were going, on a mission trip to the back roads of some Central American country, he would always say, as soon as we got off the plane, like, do you see what this country is like? Do you see, like, you were born in the greatest country in the world? You have been blessed and you don't deserve it, but for some reason, God put you in the United States.
Mm,
And especially being in different like governments, he would say, like, do you also see like how free you are? Like, you're free
mm,
because of our military, and and he was a career military man. And so
okay.
um and he both my grandparents came from very poor families. Like, he ran off and joined the military, tried to join the military at 17, and
Oh,
uh,
really?
yeah,
Did he have to
before
lie to get
18,
in?
yeah, he tried, and then at 18 he did get in, and my grandparents are married at 8. He was immediately transferred or stationed in Germany, and so he was there. My mom was born there, and they were there a few years, and so he just followed his career, and that meant a lot of
Yeah.
moving and traveling, and um, but he just really instilled that in me of how great our nation is, how free we are. Um,
Yeah.
because of those men and women that serve. And it doesn't matter where we are in the world. Like, there is no country like the United States.
Yeah.
And it is. I don't deserve to be an American citizen, and I see that privilege, and even just the knowing, like, if something happened to me, like the embassy would come get me, like the
Yeah.
SEAL team would come get me. Like, we have such protection as Americans, and so I'm really grateful for that. And that did make me just grow up with a mindset like, I've been so blessed. Like, I need to give back, or I need to help others that are less fortunate, because God gave me this amazing gift before I was
Yeah.
born. I was destined to be an American, and that is a privilege.
Yeah. I like that you bring that up as far as like, you didn't choose to be born where you were born. And this is, I think, one of the most impactful things that travel has been for me is when I meet all these other people in other parts of the world, I'm like, they also didn't choose where they were born. And I think so often we just have these perceptions and fears of people who are not like us or who were not born where we were. And, we just have all these ideas and we think they're right. And we think that we are so different from these other people. And it's like at the end of the day, like we're actually really so similar. So, like where you're at right now, you pronounce it Mindanao,
Mindanao.
Mindanao, Mindanao. It's a hard D, Mindanao.
Mindanao.
Like, what is before you ever stepped foot on soil in Mindanao? What did you imagine it? Like, what were you expecting, and what was your biggest surprise?
So I'm a dive instructor, and so originally the plan when I came here was I was going to be in Manila for 2 years, learning the language and culture, and then come down here to be like, we were going to bring the gospel to closed islands through scuba diving. So my vision of Mindanao, one, if people, so there's three regions in the Philippines. I'm in the south. People in the central and north definitely will tell you how dangerous it is. Now, there was like 10 years ago, ISIS did have a camp here, a training camp. They were like Filipinos are so pleasing and hospitable. They came
Ah.
here to recruit suicide bombers. And
Mm.
then they would pay their families, and they could bring in a lot of money that could change a Filipino's life. And so then they started setting up a training camp, and that was getting very dangerous. And there were bombings. So
Mm.
in the Philippines, you have majority Catholic, maybe 85%. Muslim is 10%, and then a born again is what they call me, or I'm Protestant, or just a Jesus follower. Any of those things is 3%. So as a born again is the most common way. I'm like neutral to both, like Catholics and um, Muslims, but they used to bomb each other's places of worship. So I know the history of Mindanao. It
Mm.
was really dangerous. The U.S., by invitation, came in and helped clear out that camp. And there is a remnant called Abu Sayyaf, which is an extremist group
Mhm.
still here, way in the
Yeah.
mountains. They don't want the heat anymore. Of the president that took over was really squashed that down, and
Oh,
knows,
okay.
and they knew like he would, and then his term was like 6 years, and so they knew he would use like force. He did not play around.
Oh,
um
yeah.
and, and so there definitely is a past and danger, and there were reports of a lot of kidnappings, and there's still some areas I will not go. The State
Mm.
Department says don't go, and
Yeah.
just the reputation, but those places are also dangerous for an average Filipino, as well. So
Mm.
anyway, I know all of that coming into Mindanao, but I also knew, being a dive instructor, that because there's so few tourists in some of these places, and diving,
Oh.
it's hard to dive like in a hijab or even like a robe, right? So like there's not a lot of scuba diving, or it's a lot less than the other regions. And I was like really excited because it's like untouched coral and just the most beautiful
Oh,
beaches and ocean, is down here.
okay.
And so I knew that coming in, and then I came down here, um, and the first place I lived, it was a little too close to the danger area, but it was a high trafficking, so we tried to really get right into it. But it was too dangerous, but it's also no foreigners, so I stood out way too much, and
Oh,
so that just brought a lot of attention, like not just to me but to my teammates. um,
yeah.
and I had to leave that area. And but the diving did not disappoint. It is, I think, this part, I've dove all over the Philippines, and I would say we have some of the best coral and the most sea turtles anywhere in the Philippines. Um,
Wow.
and so now I'm in a city where I've never felt. So we even tried like moving to the big city and then going out and working, um, in some of these more remote places. Also got a little too dangerous because I stand out, right? And
Yeah.
so now
Is the skin typically darker in the area where you're at?
yeah, they look just like Indonesians or Thai.
Okay.
They, to me, they have a perfect tan. I'm jealous of their tan, right? And then they are jealous
Yeah.
that they all want to be lighter, so
I know, yeah.
you guys are like gorgeous year round, and when I'm looking pasty. um so
So
so anyway,
did you say that the percentage when it comes to, you said Catholic was one of the higher ones, and so was Muslim. Which one was the 80% Catholic?
so even though all of the Philippines, I think it's like 110 or 120 million people nationwide, and then
Okay.
10% of that is Muslim, but they're almost all down here in the South.
Okay, got you.
So so overall, that was the 85-10 was the whole Philippines.
Okay,
um, and then in this where I am, it depends on where you are. The first
okay,
city I lived in was 80% Muslim, like
got you.
20%. And now it's pretty much even split.
Got you. So, i- have you ever had like negative encounters with any local? Well, yeah, okay. So that, have you ever had any negative encounters with any of the locals? Like they just, didn't want you there. And then what would you say is one of the like misperceptions that people have of like Mindanao
Okay.
specifically, and then Philippines in general as a people?
Okay. So I've had two negative encounters. One was actually in Manila. It was in Manila. There's a huge golden mosque um, in the heart of Manila. And in the Philippines, there's 13 Muslim tribes. All 13 are represented at that mosque. So there's 13 imams. And when I was in language school, like I was still trying, like here it's so different from other types of Islam. So before I came, I had a good friend in Afghan just kind of give me the rundown. She, as a Muslim, like how they picture Filipinos and Muslims.
Mm,
So they call it, maybe this was just her, but she was telling me they call it island Islam here. And so it's not really Sunni or Shiite. And in the world of Islam, Filipinos are looked down on because they're not a
mm,
majority country. And so they're
mm.
pretty much like a lower Muslim, like if they went to Saudi Arabia, they would definitely be looked down on by other Muslims.
Yeah.
And even from her coming from Afghanistan, she was like, oh,
Oh, wow.
like kind of looked
Yeah.
down on it. And anyway, um, so then you have the tribes here, and then there's one tribe called the Maranao that are more, they're more, maybe more educated. They own a lot of the
Yeah, okay.
businesses, and the other 12 work for them. Like the lowest tribe is actually a
Oh,
tribe
okay.
of sea gypsies. They live out on the sea. To me, I'm like, they're like living the dream. They just chase fish, schools of fish. They live on boats. They may
Wow.
put up like a bamboo hut over the water, but they,
What?
in the Philippines, if you have like clout or you own land or you own down here like goats or cattle is how
Okay.
grow. And so
Mm,
because they're the sea gypsy tribe, like they're like the lowest of the low because they don't own land.
wow.
And I'm just, anyway, I think they're amazing. But
You're like, can I join?
yeah, right. And
I'll be your
so
security.
yeah, like I would love to. But so I'm at this mosque, and the imam is a mayor now, and then there's a cafe. I'm just going to study my Tagalog there to try to like understand Muslim culture here. And so everyone there is from Mindanao and has gone to Manila for work. And my friends were working at this cafe, and they're single and they're kind of friends. They're just Muslim by culture, really. So I am just practicing my Tagalog. I would get them to help me translate, but it would be like translating the plan of salvation. And I'd be like, I need to do this speech. Like, can you help me? But it's like really sharing the gospel. And um, one day, this I was actually like a volcano had erupted, and so I was way up in the rice terraces because we couldn't
This
breathe.
is
And
so Brittany, by the way. One
yeah,
day a volcano erupted
yeah.
and
So I'm like 9 hours away, up in the like far from the ash, and I got a text, and it said my mom just sold me. Can you come get me? And I couldn't even get back into the city because of the
mm,
ash. And I finally got to my friend like 4 days later, and this cafe run by that one tribe was recruiting other tribes that had the girls had like third
oh,
grade education to come to Manila to be servers in the cafe, and then promising them once you have enough English, we'll get you a job in the
oh,
Middle East. And so that would be the goal if you're going to be an overseas Filipino worker, which is like
mm,
the number one export of the Philippines is people. And
yeah,
um, they would want to be like a house helper in a Muslim country. So all of that sounded legit, but they were really being sold as sex slaves
mm,
to like sheikhs in Saudi and Kuwait. And so they found out, and by the time I got there a few days later, it was like mid transaction. One of my friends was sold to a
mm,
man in the same tribe, but it was in Malaysia. And so by the time it took us like to get her passport and her visa, we were able to buy her, but it was like buying her freedom. But
Yeah.
my closest friend, there was like no negotiating. Her family had been shamed, and so she was sold to a Filipino to
Mm.
bring honor back to the family. So just, and you basically buying their freedoms, paying off the
Yeah.
family, and paying off the new guy, right? So
Right.
that wouldn't work. So my friend, she refused to move in, and they kind of were like, all right, we'll give you some time to get used to it, but you have to stay in the mosque. And so there, she's locked in this room, but we could bring her food. And they allowed me to go in and sit with her. And we had tried all of the negotiating, which I wasn't doing it because I'm a female. So my
Yeah.
teammate was trying to negotiate with the uncle. Like, it was just crazy and wasn't
Yeah.
working. And she kind of knew it. And she would ask me to come sit with her because she's like, I just feel peace when you're here. Like, there's something inside of you. And we would just kind of sit there in silence. And there was nothing else to do. So they would, of course, the men would spy on us and listen to our conversations, and which were all in English. And she was begging me to take her away. She's begging me to rescue her. And there's nothing, like, I am not like kidnapping you for good, right? Like, anything
Yeah.
we did was all negotiated.
Yeah.
And also, buying someone is like no way to fight trafficking, right? Like, that would have
Right.
go broke. Like,
I
you
mean,
can't.
we've our teams have had to do similar, but when sometimes that's the last option, and it's,
Right.
you know,
That's just not sustainable at all, right?
it's
And
not.
the ones like I cared about, I certainly would. But
Yeah.
and that's why I really wanted to focus more on the prevention. But so she's just begging, and like they
Mm.
had given her 30 days, so she knew was coming, and it was just getting more intense of like asking me to take her, hide her, and all this stuff. And so finally, this part of town is like, there's a big gate around the Muslim area, and it's just called Muslim Town. And there's nowhere to park, so I would usually just take a motorcycle taxi in,
Mm.
and I would pay. There was one. Most people would not come pick me up in there, so I could never get a ride out. I would have to pay someone to wait on me outside the gate, and then come
Mm.
get me. So I had this one guy that he was a regular. I knew I could trust him, and always pick me up. So the last time I saw her was, well, okay, fast forward like 3 years, I finally did rescue her. By then she had 2 kids because of rape, and we
Yeah.
relocated. But at the time, this was like the last time I saw her for like 2 years. I was just like, and I was telling her very loudly, I will not take you. You cannot hide at my house. Like, we cannot do that. But I'm walking
Yeah.
out, and I'm texting my motorbike guy, like, okay, I'm coming. The imam starts, he's like walking behind me really swiftly, and he's yelling at me. He's like, get out of
Mm.
here with your American ideas, your American freedom. Women
Mm.
are property. We own them, and do not tell her she's independent. And because she also used to
Mm.
say, like, you don't know how lucky you are to be an American, like an American female.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so anyway, but I'm like walking faster, and I'm eventually like running, and he is like chasing me, like screaming at me. And I jump on the motorbike, and we pull out of town, and my little Ankush driver was like, ma'am, I don't think we need to come back here. I'm like, we're not coming back. Don't worry.
He's like, we're done.
Yeah.
You're
So that
done.
was one time. But that was in Manila. That wasn't even down here. But down here, the first city I lived in, we had squatters on the land where we were going to build a
I
steakhouse.
remember this.
Right. So we're like, that I didn't know before I got here. My mission partner kept that a little secret until I showed up. I was like, oh, what are
Yeah.
all these shacks, basically? So, they were already mad because they were going to have to move. Then we found out they were exploiting kids, or like 9 to 12-year-old 3 girls. They were sexually abusing them, this one guy, and then they were also selling them for whatever. And my teammate EJ, they came to EJ, my teammate, and were like, help us, because we're all on the same property, but we were behind an extra fence, but we had to pass by their house to get to the highway. So EJ did rescue them and got the social workers involved. She had to go in like incognito to the school because they would only go out with her and like literally take them from their class. then the where the paperwork was turned into, there was a family member that was in that office and told them that it was
Oh,
EJ that did it, and then I'm there. And anyway, so this one trafficker was came after her with a knife and then just slashed my tires. And I had a bamboo boat for diving, and he tried to burn my boat. And so that it was a little scary. We had to leave. We had to hire a
jeez.
bodyguard until we could get out and get our things out. So that
That
that was
was
a
the
little
last place before where you are now, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's what,
So
that's what I was thinking.
that
Oh
was a
my
little
God.
scary, but
Do you
but
feel like the practice of Islam there on that island is so heavily influenced by the culture and tradition of the island? Like, it
yeah,
sounds like it's quite different in a lot of ways.
they're I would say they're cultural Muslims. So most of the, I mean, like I pass mosque, even in this city, there's mosque everywhere. Like we hear the
Yeah.
call to prayer. Um, and so there's definitely devout, and Friday, parts of the
Mhm.
city, it's roads are blocked off for prayer. Um, but the average, especially the females, that's just what how they grew up. They don't know much
Mhm.
about their religion,
Yeah.
but they do know, like they are less than, and they're
Mm.
treated treated that way. They are treated as
Mhm.
property a lot, and they
Yeah.
some of the areas down here, they just live under Sharia law, but in the the national government kind of looks the other way just to keep the peace. So to an
Mm.
extent, they'll let them live that way. But like my friend, we were able to rescue her because it was like a Sharia law marriage, so it wasn't a legal Filipino marriage. So she just had
Mm.
to run
Okay.
away, bring her
Yeah.
kids, and like the guy has no rights, right? Like there's
Yeah.
no work or anything. So um so yeah, it is definitely multicultural. No
Yeah.
one down here speaks like could read Arabic, and if the mosques I have been in, there's Arabic like all over the mosque,
Mhm.
right? Like signs, and I'll say like, can you even read what is posted
Yeah.
everywhere? And then no one can. And like I had
No, yeah.
a good friend that was Iraqi, and I FaceTimed her one day. I was like, it was this teacher was just giving me a hard time, and he's mocking me one day, just like, you believe in three gods. Like we get that a lot. Like a lot of times, if you take a picture with a Muslim, they hold up one, as in we
Yeah.
believe in one God, you believe in three. So,
Yeah.
anyway, so I was just like, you can't even read your holy book. Like,
Yeah.
please
Aw.
just leave me alone. Like, hang out with my friends. And
Yeah.
so I FaceTime my Iraqi friend, and I was like, could you tell them what their mosque says? Like
Yeah.
and so they follow what they see posted in the Middle East. Like I've had friends lately that have had a lot of posts like, "Oh, it's not terrorism when America does it," or
Mm.
just of like this war.
Yeah.
And I've had some that are posting "Death to America," and one was a girl I rescued was posting "Death to America," and I just finally said, like, do you understand what this is saying? You're saying death to me. And she's
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. I just meant to your president. I'm like, that's not what the post says, which is in English,
Yeah.
posted from some like Palestine. And so they don't even know what they're just reposting because they are maybe like less than in the world of Islam. And so
Mm.
if it comes from the Middle East, like, oh, it must be true. We need to post it to get some points or something. So, but they
Oh,
don't
yeah.
understand. And then when I finally said, I was like, this really hurts me. It hurts my feelings because this is
Yeah.
and it makes me nervous. Like, I don't want to see you again if you're wishing death on me. And she eventually took
Yeah.
that one down, but she just didn't understand like the weight of stuff like that.
And I think what you're saying right now, like, you bring up such an important point, and it goes back to what we were talking about before. Like, when you actually sit down with the individual and you start to get to know each other as human beings, as individuals, and you get to know each other, and hopes and dreams, you get to know a little bit about families and things like this. and it just puts a human face, you know, to the other side. And it just so often propaganda and the media and all the things try
Yes.
to create this us versus them mentality. And it's like what you're saying, you know, you're like, but it's me. Like, and I think this is one of the other important factors. And this is one of the things that I'm trying to do with Sacred Earth Journey is, you know, let's cut through the propaganda, let's cut through the rhetoric, and let's see the value of each other as human beings, number one. And then let's also find out what we actually both really believe. And it's like what you were just sharing about the, you know, the tribes and the villages there. You know, this is something that's common in parts of Afghanistan too, where there's like there are cultural influences on religions, and this is true of any religion all around the world. Like you can't, like there's just so much diversity and so many different influences that it's like we just can't make these huge categorical assumptions. And like governments don't represent individuals. My daddy and I, we were walking today and we were talking about this, and we're like, the governments do not represent the individuals. One, regimes do not represent individuals. And one individual does not represent the collective. So it's like we just have to
Right.
quit
It's
allowing these things
it's
to influence.
it is really hard. And I was actually diving a few months ago, and the guy was from Israel, and he was trying to hide that because
Yeah.
he gets so much hate for being Israeli. He's like, I'm not
Yeah.
there. I don't even. He was backpacking across Asia. He's like, I've been gone for months. I had to get out. I don't support everything. I'm not. I don't hate everything. You know. And the only reason I knew is because I was showing him some dive sites, and I saw his phone, and it had Hebrew. I was like, are you Israeli? And he was like, like my secret's out. I'm like, no,
Oh,
no, no. Like I
yeah.
don't hate you for that. And but my best friend is from Afghanistan, and not the one that was giving me the advice. That was another lady. But
Yeah.
even like my story is, I mean, I was a freshman in college when 9/11 happened. And right, the media, it was just, we hate them. They all want to kill us. They're all terrorists. And
Yeah.
I, in like being in the US at that time, like I didn't, but my dad was also, I think in the early 2000s, my dad was doing government work in Doha, Qatar. And so he was going back and
Yeah.
forth. And so, but it wasn't, there were no Muslims I knew. So I just knew what the
Mm.
news was saying. Then my roommate got transferred to Thailand in like 2 weeks notice. And I was like, I got to rent out my room. And I was like getting so desperate. My another friend was like, I have a girl. Like, do you want to meet her? I'm like, no. If
Oh,
you know us and you know her, I mean, you know me
yeah.
and you know her, just move her. She can move in. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
any other options right now. And she was from Afghanistan, a practicing Muslim. And I was like, you just moved the Taliban into my house. Like, are you crazy? Like going meeting her and having a face with Islam, my heart broke for her. She's
Yeah.
in America in med school because the Taliban took over. She was in Kabul. She saw like her dad was beat in the street because he wouldn't grow out
Yeah.
his beard, because he worked in Europe. And her mom, she's like, all of a sudden my mom has to wear a burqa to go to and she can't go to the grocery store. But and she's
Yeah.
telling me her story, and it broke my heart for Muslim women. And we went through a lot together. And just with her family still in Afghanistan, and then her family being hunted because she's
Mhm.
American now, and she eventually came to Christ. And we were like, one day, and she didn't want to text me. We'd use all this hidden stuff, and I met her, and we were sitting at a cabana at the Marriott in Doha one day, because she was like, I really need to talk to you. When are you
Mm.
coming through? And so I came through, and
Oh, yeah.
she, like, she came to Christ. She's a believer now, and she said, like, I cannot follow a religion that's hunting my
Mhm.
parents in the name of that religion. And so
Yeah.
she's crying because, like, I had first taken her to church, and then I'm crying because I was like, you gave Islam a face, like Muslim women a face, and my heart
Right.
breaks for Muslim women. And that is why I
Mhm.
moved around the world was to help them and give them a voice. And so
Yeah.
so yeah, I think when you meet one, you meet a Muslim or just even an Afghan or a Syrian,
Mhm.
and you hear their story and you hear like some of it, like what they have gone through. And
Mm.
this friend is the most patriotic person I have ever met. She would wear we would go to the beach and she would very happily wear a tank top and wear a big American flag shirt, you know, because to her, America gave her freedom.
Yeah.
And she loved this country. She loves her home and she knows she can never go back. And she
Yeah.
is so upset over, and even like translators I met from Afghanistan, because I would help resettle Afghan translators and their families in Savannah.
Right.
They love Afghanistan and they are so upset that they can't
Right.
be there. And they post things and they're so patriotic and they're not saying like we support terrorism. They're saying like we support
Right.
our land and we're
It's
brokenhearted.
it's so much this because as same, you know, when I was doing the humanitarian work for Afghanistan and Pakistan and that whole area, and they absolutely love their country, and not just the Afghans. I mean, wherever you're born, that's your, you know, that's your home, that's your country, and everyone is proud of it. And you know, it's again, the religions are, there's just so much variation and influence in all the different places because I have so many Muslim friends from all around the world that they're not facing the same things that some of these people are facing in part, like in Manila or in parts of Afghanistan and other places. There are many of my Muslim friends like in Oman and Iraq
Mhm.
and Egypt and Turkey and in other places, they don't even cover their head, but they are still practicing Muslim. Like they're, you know, but like a lot of people here in the West, when they hear Muslim, they immediately think and assume that it's all
Mhm.
the worst things. And it's like, well, it's actually not a blanketed thing
No.
everywhere. So
You
it's
may
like you can't
encounter a lot of Muslims dressed as a Westerner and you don't even
like
know, you know, and
100%.
right. But
Yeah.
here it's totally up to their family. They just, the females do what their mom did. And I had one friend, my only, now down here I see it all the time, but when I was in Manila, only one friend had a burqa. And I just was like, you know, you're Tausug. I see all these other Tausugs with just a hijab, like, just help me understand. And she was like, she pulled it up and she doesn't have any front teeth. And she's like,
Oh,
that's the only reason. It's
girl, I'm
totally
not gonna
normal.
lie. There are days when I was where was I? Was it Oman? No, when I was in Indonesia, you know, the humidity in Indonesia, I was like, this is a day when a hijab would be fantastic. It's like that was just going like a chia pet. No one's like,
Yeah.
I need help, you know. But it's just so okay. So in what would you say is like one of the biggest assumptions about the people of Mindanao specifically? First of all,
Okay.
do Westerners even know where Mindanao is?
No.
Number
So
one.
yeah, the number one question, well, I get asked all the time, do your parent, what did they think about you moving to Mindanao? I was like, guess what? Mindanao is dangerous only to Filipinos. No one at home has even heard, like, all we know is Manila, right? Like the thriller in Manila, basically, right? No one, I have not met one American that can name a Filipino island or a city outside of Manila, right? And I mean, it's just off our rate. I did it before I came here, and I
Yeah.
dive, and I know how. In so I tell them, I tell people down here all the time because they are stereotyped as being dangerous and like the old way of just the fighting and the bombing, that is so in the past. I say like Americans, which they think if you're from the West, not just America, but I mean they bring that up because I am American, but any Westerner, even Europeans, they they always want to know what we think of Mindanao. I'm like, you're not on our radar. We don't think any bad thing. We don't think you're
We
dangerous.
don't even know about you.
We don't. I'm like, the Philippines is one, right? Like, I know we have 190 languages, but everyone just says it's Filipino, and I'm like, we actually speak Tagalog. It's not called. I mean, if someone calls it Filipino, I like that's fine. That's normal. But you know, and so I think what I've encountered is the people that have the most like stereotypes or animosity towards Mindanao or other Filipinos that know, and even when I go back to Manila a lot, like I have a lot of friends just from living there. I have friends, or I mean, in the Philippines to get Western food, that is the best place to go. So if I need a
Yeah.
break or something, um, and my Filipino friends there are like, "How is it down there?" And they'll joke like, there was even I can't remember the whole context because it was like it was in this news thing was like in Tagalog, but this it was some like influencers, or it may have even been like people in the government. There was a clip, and this person from Manila was commenting about Mindanao and said that we had like the most. It's basically like living in sub-Saharan Africa, like totally slamming Mindanao. And so then it got to be a trend. Everyone down here started doing pictures with their background as Africa. There was like this huge giraffe in the mall because they were like, we're just like you. Like technology is advanced, like we have nice hotels, or so there's a lot of stereotypes, and it's almost always just other Filipinos, and they're really. I even had like yesterday, a dive buddy from Manila is posting. He's road tripping down here, and he was diving somewhere, and he commented, "I can't believe how nice it is." I'm like, what is? Anyway, so
I wonder where we get these, like, where do we get these impressions from
yeah,
that is just weird.
yeah, and really, so I've been to 57 countries, and I would say Filipinos have got to be, if not, I mean, I would probably say the top, but it's because I've spent the most time here. Top 5 most hospitable,
Yeah,
kindest nation in the world. Like they
yeah,
just want to please you, and it
yeah.
it really doing business here gets frustrating because they want to please you so much. They always say yes even when they mean no,
Yes.
and I'm always like, let your yes be yes and your no be
You
no.
know.
Like
Or they'll say yes and they can't. Like they don't have the means to or whatever.
right.
And
I'm
yeah,
like, just be honest, but they just want to make you happy, and
yeah,
they are just incredibly kind. And
yeah.
it is hard in the business world because this is majority Muslim. Even it just makes it all like misogynistic here, even if it's not
Mm.
Muslim. The other like Catholics or um, even non-religious, it's just very male dominated. And I've
Just the
only
culture in general. Yeah.
yeah, and I've only experienced that down here. I didn't experience that in Manila.
Mm.
I mean, I have female business owners in Manila that I'm friends with, and so that is one thing. It's not super fun to deal with,
Yeah.
cross culturally. But then they also are very much like um, not direct culture at all. And so coming
Yeah.
from the US, to get things done, we can be direct and blunt, and they don't know what to do with that. Um,
Right.
and and so sometimes I can use that like in my advantage, like in business or
And
something.
I think this is most of like Asia, Middle East, MENA, region. Europe is a little bit more like us, but so many other parts of the world it's this, and it's so difficult. You just have to really weave your way through what is actuality versus hospitality.
Right, right. Yeah,
um,
we like we were talking about hotels before. I mean, I could probably stay in somewhere like even if it's just overnight, like a little rougher. But if I'm gonna bring someone, a
yeah.
team, when we host a team, I've got to go check it out because yeah, they may post a Facebook photo. Everything, all business almost is done on Facebook, and it's like a Facebook picture of a resort like the day it opened. Like, what is the reality? How many roaches are there?
100%. 100%. I know. The hotel that I checked into earlier, I was like, literally, I stayed in nicer places in Iraq, and I'm
Yeah,
like, I'm not staying here.
yeah.
So, okay, so real quick, what is your favorite food in Mindanao?
Um, my favorite food would be it's called tortang talong, which talong is eggplant, and then torta means to cook an egg. And so it's like a Japanese eggplant, just filleted open where it lays flat, cooking an egg, maybe, well, in Manila, maybe you put some pork in it. Down here, maybe not, but it's just seasoned and there's peppers in it too. It's really good. So we usually say, like, the day-to-day food, there's definitely good Filipino food, but the day-to-day, like, no one moves here for the food. Like, this is not Thailand and it's not India.
Oh no.
There's not a lot of flavor. Like, there's not many spices, but you can definitely get good food. It's just what an average Filipino would eat every day, you know? So that dish is definitely my favorite, but it takes a long time to cook because you have to, like, grill the eggplant over, like,
Oh.
open fire, and that's a treat.
What is the American food that you always make sure you have when you're going back to Mindanao
Um,
that you take with
I
you?
beef jerky. So I don't eat beef here because it's not. I don't know. I mean, I feel like we have enough room to graze. Like, there's some cattle near me right now because I'm up in the mountains, but they just, like, I don't know. The beef burgers are not good. They want to make everything sweet, like their spaghetti sweet. So
Oh,
a lot of times, even a burger has sugar in it, and I just and some people think it's religious. I'm like, I just don't like the way it tastes. Like, once you get, like, a Texas burger or Texas steak
oh
or from
yeah.
home, like, you can't compare it. So um I I used to, like, just crave seafood when I was home because it's so fresh in Savannah. But
Yeah.
now, I mean, I'm on the coast, so I get fresh seafood all the time. So I almost, if anyone asks me to go out, I almost always order beef, like a burger or steak, and then teams come and, like, beef jerky and Cheez-Its, please. Like, that's what I load up on.
Cheez-Its.
I don't know why. Like, we can get a lot of, like, I don't really eat snacks or junk food, but I cannot get Cheez-Its here, and then it makes me just crave it. So yeah, that's, and then, like, I'm a coffee snob, and so there's certain coffees I like, and so I always bring them from the U.S. too.
100%. I always, in a lot of places, I will bring, like, popcorn because you can't find popcorn in a lot of places, but, all right, so Western toilet, bidet, or squatty potty? What's there?
Mm, I have a Japanese toilet, so it's a Western toilet with a built-in bidet. So it's like an electronic.
Heated seat or no?
Yeah, it has that option, but we've had record heat. Like, it's been 40, like 103, 104. The heated seat is off right now.
Oh my gosh. What is the scariest insect that you have to deal with? Oh, we lost her. Uh-oh. Oh, shucks.
Oh,
Oh, there
okay.
you go. There
Sorry about
you
that.
go. Okay,
Um,
so what is the scariest insect that you have to deal with there?
so this is just from where we live. We have a, like, human size wasp nest in the yard over, and so some days we'll just have, like, easily 20 or 30, like, wasp on the porch, and no one knows how to take care of it. I don't know what to do, and so it's that's just the
Burn
scariest thing
it.
here. Yeah, but it's not on our property, and so the neighbors, a lot of times down here, people own land and then they live in bigger, like, they live in Manila and they have provincial land, and so no one knows. Like, even my neighbor went to the local government office to get the name of who was on the deed, and they don't know the person, and so
That's where
I'm
you're
like,
like, light a match. Whoops, the wind took
that's
it.
what I said. I said to do, and, but no one will do it. And anyway, so right now is just because how many are here, but usually, yeah, there's not too many, like, scary things here. Maybe the most would be, there are some, like, different types of like bugs like on the surface of the water. Sometimes when we dive, it like sting us. That's just more
Oh,
irritating depending on like the
yeah.
season. But
Okay, what about rodent? What's the grossest rodent that you have to deal with?
rodents, well, the first house I lived in the scary city had rats, and
I remember this.
there was so many like lizards and geckos inside our house, which there's lizards everywhere because most people like vent some of their windows and so they just get in. This house, I was like, nope, we're having western windows. They close all the way. I'm gonna have air con in every room. Like, and they just couldn't believe even the bathroom isn't vented. I'm like, no, because so many bugs come in. And so I got a cat, and then because I could hear the rats running in my ceiling,
Oh,
there was never a rat inside. I saw them outside on the fence, and
yeah.
then I could hear them in the roof at night. And I have contacts, and so I can't see at night. And
Oh.
I had one of my teammates like sleep in the room with me. And when they started running, I would like scream. And anyway, I eventually got a cat, and just the scent of my cat, they went away. But
Lizards are just, they're so creepy, but I guess they eat insects, so I guess they're good,
yeah,
but
I just
whatever.
don't want them in my room. And one day I've been on the ocean, I've been diving, and then I had a raft that I would go out if it was high tide, like take me out further. And so I had dove, I came in on my raft, I cleaned all my, this is like an hour or two later, I took off my hat to take a shower, and I went like this, and there was a lizard in my hand. I'm like, it had been in my hair under my hat for like at least an hour, and I like launched it across the room. And anyway,
Did you
I'm just like,
scream?
I screamed, and
Okay, good.
yeah, and that I was
I
like,
just always feel like you're so tough because of all the
oh,
things you've gone through that I'm just like, I just need to know that you had a girly moment
yes,
and you were
I
weak
did
and you
with that one,
screamed.
and I was like, and then that was then with the rats, I was like, I have to get a cat, and the cat, I trained my cat. Oh, she's not in here. When I say tiki, that's lizard in Tagalog. She is like on it, and her like there was one
She goes into
on my
huntress mode.
yeah, there was one on my porch this morning, and I just that we because of our house now, we hardly ever have lizards, and so I was like, oh, she hasn't done it in a while, and so I set it, and she came running. I lift her up high, and she just went after it. So no more tiki,
Nice.
but yeah.
Nice. So last question, what is the most memorable natural disaster you experienced overseas? I feel
Um,
like I already know the answer, but actually
yeah.
don't say it. Don't say it yet.
Oh, okay.
Do
Okay.
you have it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say that it is probably, was it a hurricane or was it earthquake?
Or
Hurricane. It,
yeah.
it was the hurricane when you were like on the streets for a couple of days afterwards or something. Is it
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
one?
Yes, that would be. Yeah, the other ones like volcanoes, earthquakes, I've never felt like in danger. The earthquakes are more annoying because I've been to the airport twice, like flight about to get, they're checking the status of the runway. That was just like, come on, can we please,
Yeah.
like, but I wasn't like in a building or something. But yeah,
Yeah.
or over here, typhoon, but it was a signal 5, like a category 5, and I was on this island called Catanduanes, which they call it. I forget the name. There's this one area of the Philippines. Oh, Typhoon Alley is what they call it. So they get hit a couple times a year. I wanted to get out. My team leader, I think, wanted to be like Rambo, and he wanted to stay and like survive the typhoon. And then I was too new to like be like, well, I'm
Oh,
gonna fly and go home. And so was bad. We were in a building and we were fine through the storm, but I was keeping up with my parents and they knew um, what was going on. And then the last message I got out before we lost cell signal was the water's coming in, but we're moving to the second floor. And then nothing for 3 days.
yes.
And
Yes,
so
yeah.
I had I had a friend coming. So at the time, the Filipino government had just bought 3 Gulfstream planes, and my friend was the vice president there, like in Savannah, and so she was delivering them. So she was in Manila. I was supposed to go meet her. So she's monitoring everything, and she's with government officials. And so she had a lot more information. She's talking to my mom and dad, and like they had already called the embassy because they didn't hear from me for a few days, and they're telling my mom and dad like that island has no cell signal. We have not heard of any fatalities, or like there was severe flooding, but we just think she's probably fine. It's just there's no cell, which that was what happened. So at one point, what the problem was is there was another storm right behind it, so the seas really were not calming,
Oh, yes.
and
Yeah.
it hit at high tide. So like I'm on this island, and then here's another island that has a bigger airport because our airport was ruined. It was only, even though it's commercial, it was only VFR airport.
Yeah.
So they could not come in. So it took, when it hit, all of the ferries were way inland, and then the tide went out. So now they're all stuck with like a tidal surge. And so no large ferries could come get us. And so we're trying to hire like a little bamboo, whatever, to fishermen to take us. And no one's like, they're like, we're going to drown. Like finally by like day 3, there's still like no water, no electricity, no
Were you
Wi-Fi.
still in the building or were you on the street?
So by then I was staying in that building we were in. It was like a Airbnb kind of thing. But we didn't have anything, and I mean, we like I ate like raw pizza dough was like my last meal there because we had like no food left, or no like even crackers. And so
Yeah.
finally me and my teammate, a guy, we did hire someone to like take us over to this other island because they had finally kind of calmed down enough. So
Yeah.
then when we got to that, it took us like 3 times to get over than it should have because of the waves. And so we get there like 10 p.m. and then this other place called Legazpi, everybody around was like flocking there because that airport was open. And so
Oh,
we got
okay.
there so late. Hotels were selling space in their lobbies to sit. Every hotel is booked. Every like even that they wouldn't even
Wow.
let us in the lobby. So that's when I was sleeping on the street. And then like our flight was at 6 a.m. And then it starts raining. And I was like telling the guy, I'm like, I'm not sitting on the sidewalk all night. So we went to the bus station, but it was like really sketch. And we're walking.
Bus
So
stations are always sketch.
yeah, right. And so we had found, there was like, it was like this pay by the hour hotel that was open. So we're like, that'll be the least. Maybe they'll let us sit in the lobby. And we're saving like one phone because when we got over and we had signal, like we could rebook. And the first text I had from my dad was, "A satellite phone is on its way to you." So now I always have a signal, and he can ping me wherever. But so we're walking to this terrible hotel. Maybe they have room in the lobby, and it's like 3 a.m. and it's pitch black, like no electricity still.
Oh, yeah.
I fall in a manhole, and the water's like
That's
rushing.
what it
So
was.
yeah, so like my dive bag, I had my backpack on. It caught on the street, and I'm like out like this, and I'm screaming for Edwin, and he like pulls me up, and I was like, oh my gosh. And so then we did use our like phone flashlight to at least get to, and for some reason, like we couldn't they wouldn't let us in the hotel. And then we tried a 7-Eleven. Like, can we just sit in the 7-Eleven? They wouldn't let us in the 7-Eleven. So then we were
Did
sleeping on
you
the
know when
sidewalk.
you fell into the manhole, like, did you even know what was going on, or were you just totally disoriented, like, all of a
I was
sudden?
very disoriented, but I felt the water like rushing underneath me, and I had no
Oh
idea what
my
to
God.
do. I was like, I just was holding on like to the street, but it was really my backpack hit the side. And then we actually saw later all the cones and like barriers were washed off to the side of the road. And so I don't even know if it was a manhole or it was just like work being done that in the road.
Yeah.
So I'm laying on the street, and then the police come over because
Oh my God.
the shady hotel had reported us they thought I was being trafficked. And so they call the police. So now the police are there, and the police are yelling at us, and their dialect is Bicol, and they're trying to separate the two of us. And I'm with a man, and so I'm like not leaving him because I'm like terrified. I'm yelling in English, he's yelling in Tagalog, and finally they were like, "Wait," because they wanted to separate me to make sure I'm okay. So they
Yeah.
had best intentions, and they were like, "Wait, are you American?" And we're both like, "Yes." And he's like, and then he turned to me, he's like, "Is he trafficking you? Is he hurting you?" I'm like, "No." We told him the situation, and I said, like, "Can we please? It's pouring rain. Can we please see the
Yeah.
police?" "No, we're under a state of emergency. You cannot come in the police station." And they're like, "Okay." So they take us to the pay by the hour hotel, explain the situation. They're like, "Can they just sit in the lobby?" So we sat in the lobby to at least charge our phone, and then it was just disgusting. There's prostitutes there in the middle of like a typhoon, and
Wow.
the noises coming out. I was just like, I'm not, like, we had full charge. We were kind of dry. I'm like, I'm not staying anymore. So we went to, they did let us in the 7-Eleven, and they had tables in there, but they wouldn't, and I'm starving. And then there's all these crackers and chips. We weren't allowed to eat anything because they don't have power and they couldn't charge. I'm like, I will give you $20 for this like bag of Pringles.
Yeah.
But like, no transactions. And so now I'm like just being like taunted by everything around us.
Wow.
So then I'm sleeping on the table. Well, the 7-Eleven had flooded, and so they're moving everything out of the back room, and they had so many like fleas or something that
Oh,
I was sleeping
gross.
for like an hour. But when I woke up, we had to start walking to the airport at like 4 a.m. When I woke up, my hands and my face were so swollen. I almost couldn't see because I was covered in like flea bites. And so Edwin and I were both like, we can't even like move our hands. And then we had to walk like, it's like 1.5 kilometers to the airport. We're standing outside the airport. It started raining again, and they're like, "Hold on, we have to see if the generator kicks on if you're gonna be allowed out." And so we everyone, I mean, there's tons of people. We're all like standing at the gate, like waiting, and then they kicked on. We go through, and they everything was like done by paper, so it just took forever. And then we finally get back to our gate, and I am still starving and thirsty, and there's like a coffee like an instant coffee little stand, and I was like, "Can I have some?" And he was like, "Ma'am, I'm scared to turn on the hot water, the kettle, because I don't want to kick off the generator." I was like, "Don't worry about it, just leave it off." And so anyway, then on the flight, so we finally get out. On the flight, they wouldn't, everything was like, you had to pre-order the food, and there's no snacks, and we didn't pre-order anything. And so I'm
Oh,
like,
God.
I am so hungry. And anyway, whatever, it's like an hour flight. We landed in Manila, and then my friend, she was staying at like a really nice Marriott, like the Grand Marriott, and she left me a key. And now I like roll up. I've not taken a shower in like 3 days. I don't know what I looked like. I smelled terrible. I looked terrible. And I get the key to this suite. And then I get there, and she left me lunch. And I was like, I don't know if I'm more like exhausted, like tired,
Yeah.
or hungry, or like dirty. So I just like ate an apple in the shower, and then I crashed. But anyway, that was
Wow.
my worst. But I say all the
You
time,
are
like, this country like tries to kill me between volcanoes and earthquakes. I'm like, yeah.
you are gonna write a book, right?
I'm writing one, and then because I have a friend that's a publisher, but like I haven't updated it like 7 months. I need to catch
Yeah.
up. So, but
Yeah.
it's been a rough year. So
I think it's been a piece of cake compared to what you just shared.
yeah, that was the worst time. So
You you remind me the whole I remember I think it was the second time I flew into Cyprus. The layover was in either Istanbul or maybe I was in Ankara first. All I know is right after we took off, this was right after the last major hurricane, right? It was, what was that, in 22 maybe? I think it was in 2022. And right after we take off, another earthquake hits, right? Well, when we land in Cyprus, we land and immediately our phones are just pinging and going off with the what is the oh gosh, the after a hurricane. What's the next thing that comes? What
Oh,
is
like
that
a
called?
um uh um crap.
I
Like a
know.
tidal wave or
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yes. And so
yeah.
we keep getting like high tidal
Oh,
wave
tsunami.
alert warning. Yeah, tsunami. It was this.
Yeah.
And so we're flying over, and like there's these areas that look like it should have been water, but it's not. And so we're driving up to the hotel and get into the hotel room, and it's overlooking the sea, and it's like a bay, but there's no water.
Oh my
And I was just like, this is the most eerie feeling in the world. And they were like, we are under a tsunami warning and all the things. And I could not sleep. Like, I would not unpack anything. I would not get undressed. I left my door open because I was like, I want to hear if it's starting to come. And I like had this debate with myself. I'm like, do I want to leave the door open and let the water in if I don't wake up? Or do I want to leave the door open so I can hear the water and I'm going to run? But where am I going to run to? And I'm like going through all of the things like, what am I going to do? But
ew.
it's just weird. It's being in another country in and of itself is already could be stressful, but then you add all the things on top of it. But like the things you've gone through, like you're a superwoman, and I'm just always so impressed with just your courage and bravery, and the things you've had to overcome are incredibly impressive.
I do feel like I'm on my eighth life, maybe. I'm like, but this place, and it just, yeah, my, uh, actually, I have a functional medicine doctor, and I have to get everything tested every 6 months, and every single time my cortisol levels are like off the chart, and he's like, can you have more rest days? I'm like, it's just like driving here gives me
Yeah.
stress, like there's no road rules. So yeah, that's just
Oh, that's a
I
good question, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so in Mindanao, the driving, is it comparable to like most Middle Eastern countries and like Asian countries where it's just kind of there's really no rules and it's
yeah.
what is it, survival of the fittest?
Yeah. It's so I first learned to drive here in Manila, which usually I think at least a few years ago, like the top 10 most congested cities in the world, it was all like India and Bangladesh, and then Manila is like randomly in there, like a top five. So driving in Manila, it was stressful, and like you just sit in traffic for hours and hours, but like they would be like 7 lanes painted, but really like 10 lanes of cars, and yeah, so there's no rules. At least like down here, it's not quite as congested like that, but the, yeah, there's no rules. Motorbikes are just zooming all around you. No matter what, if I'm in a wreck, it's my fault. Like I've had a motorbike run into me, and of course I'm the one that has to pay for everything. So I've like maxed out insurance on like as high as much as I can get on my truck. And there's like I feel because like I'm like a pilot, right? Like just VFR, but I feel like when you're flying a plane, you have like side to side, up and down, and forward, right? So you're my instructor would always say like if you haven't looked at a gauge in the last 1 second, like you're late. So you have so many things to like just focus on all the time.
Yeah.
Driving a car, right? You shouldn't have to worry about the up and down, but here you're just looking all around constantly because of bikes and jeepneys and van, like so many things are rushing by you, and then street dogs are everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a lot to me. It's a lot like Cairo.
Yes, I was gonna ask you. I think
Yeah,
Cairo's probably, although like city center Napoli was pretty harsh, but I would say like Cairo, Cyprus was a lot, but I actually was cool with Cyprus. We were
yeah,
together in Cyprus. That was
yeah.
like that was pretty chill. It wasn't, but
No, like
Cairo,
in Cairo, I can't remember if they were like just red lights. They either didn't work or no one paid attention when I was in Cairo.
it's the second one.
Okay, so ours here, like they'll be flashing one color and no one or they're just off,
At that point, it's like, what's the point?
yeah, yeah. So
But
yeah, that's
and here's the thing. I feel like in some ways, this is actually more efficient than having the rules that we have here that are so, because do you know, especially roundabouts, like America sucks at roundabouts, but like I feel like
oh
the rules that we have here, like it's almost, if we would just kind of let it be like it is in many other countries, yeah, the accident rate would go up, but like
yeah,
you kind of just get where you need to get, and there's not the, just stalled sitting there. Sometimes
yeah.
there is, but
The one thing that like really drives me crazy is how many kids or babies are on motorbikes and then they don't have no helmet. That one I can't get over, and I'm like,
or like the seven family members on the
yeah,
one on the one
right.
bike,
And the
and
kid
they're
with
carrying the
helmets in the
stuff on.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that part's hard. But there, and I don't understand. I ask so many Filipinos, I'm like, how do you come to America and you follow the rules? Like you know when to stop, there's no right turn or whatever, and they abide by it. And I don't know. I'm like, it's in you, so you're capable of driving good. Here, they just it's out
But
of
it's
control.
that's what I'm saying though. They're like, you have to just, you have to do it, and you have to commit and follow through. Like you
Yeah,
cannot hesitate.
you
You
have to
know what I
keep driving.
mean?
Yeah, or
And
yeah,
so
you'll sit forever.
it's true. And I think this is a good point too, like for any Westerners watching, um, when we are on the roads here in the States, just to maybe show some grace, because I mean, driving in other countries is it's very different than driving here, and
Yeah, or you're just
um
constantly on your horn. Your horn
yeah,
here is like, I'm coming up, I'm not stopping, and it's also get out of my way. Like
it's so many
you
things.
just honk for everything. I'm like, what is happening? So, but I do
So
have to
much.
have like super tinted windows, like just for safety because I would be a target of like, especially they just assume, yep, you can pay for anything. Oh, and like even when the motorbike hit me, I just said, like, that's fine. I'll cover it. It's my insurance. But and we have to sign this thing with the police. Like, we settled it. And he signed it. And then the guy even tried to come back. Oh, I found this scratch on the motor. No, you didn't. You saw the color of my skin and now you want more money. And even, like, just like medical wise, he jumped
Yeah.
up. Oh, I'm fine. And the police were like, you have to sign that you're fine. Like, you can't come back. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of I mean, I feel like that's part of being a foreigner too, is like extortion is everywhere. And you just that drives me crazy. But and
Yeah.
I'll say like you can extort me up to a little bit, right? And like
Right.
I am very blessed, but I have a limit. And the thing is
Yeah.
like I've had like house helpers or people around the house have stolen things from me, like stolen a pillow.
Oh.
And I'm like, if you had asked me, I would have bought you 10 pillows. But now because you
Yeah.
stole, like you're fired and like
Yeah.
I won't hire you again. Like, was it really over like a $10
Mm,
whatever, and so
come on.
definitely like even like I had a contractor and he was trying to give me like a 7,000 US dollar increase in a project. I was like, you could have gotten a couple thousand out of me probably. But because this is so ridiculous, now I've hired another engineer
Yeah.
who like, and you're not getting anything, and anyway, so yeah, on the street too, I just have to hide my face, or there's places that like I stay in the truck and my local teammate has to run in and buy something from me.
You reminded me of something else too. I kind of go back and forth on this because, like, in other countries that are financially, economically not as stable or as well off, sometimes I get frustrated because it's almost like Westerners want to go over there and they just want to haggle because we don't get to haggle here, and they want to haggle on all the things and barter. And it's like, you're going to get this for, 20 or $30 less. And what is that to you? Do you know what that is to them? Like
Right.
20 or $30 for somebody in Egypt is enormous,
Yeah.
compared to is 20 or $30 less for you is not nearly as big of a deal as much as it is what it would be
Yeah.
for them. But then it's like, conversely, if you don't haggle, they're going to continually just to increase the prices
Yeah.
because the Westerners are never haggling. So it's like, well,
Right. Right. So for that, like out of the street, my locals, they do all of that, and they will hear you just say last price. Like they expect
yeah,
it. Because I, not growing up doing that, I don't like to do it. Even like in Italy, like we were, my parents and I were in Italy at a market, and even my mom was doing it over like we're getting like a used Gucci purse or something, and I was like
it
so
probably
uncomfortable.
wasn't real.
Yeah, and she anyway. So I don't like doing it, but it is expected to do
Yeah.
like they, but yeah, some things I'm like it's not. I don't mind paying, but like I was on one island. It's a very touristy island, and he was like, I knew the price from like the dive shop to my hotel, and I was by myself, and my friends were at the hotel, and he like tripled the price, and it was
Yeah.
only like $3, right? But it
Yeah.
was the principal, and I started speaking Tagalog, and I was like, I am not a tourist. I live here, and this was in the central region. Then I told him I lived in Mindanao, and then he was like, and I also have like some tattoos, and so some places that is
Yeah.
just a sign like you're tough and you're scared. And that's why I have them, and I certain places I wear shirts where you can see them, and
Yeah.
so he eventually like got down to the ride, which was $1, and that was like, you shouldn't be ripping off tour, like that's not fair,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but but because of like, right, so $20 is nothing, right? So what we deal with the most with trafficking is online videos are sold. One video sells for $20 is the going rate, and
Wow.
that is nothing to an American. Or like the top
Yeah.
three is Americans number one, in the UK and Australia for online, like online buying online videos, sexual abuse videos. But
Wow.
yes, that's 1,000 pesos. That is huge to a Filipino. That is bread. That's rice for the week, and
Yeah.
so we can't like. I can easily get overwhelmed in thinking like there's no way to fight trafficking when that is what the price is. Like the West can
Mm.
there's no stopping that, and then you have people here. They are not getting rich. They're trying to feed their family, so they'll do
Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
for buying food, which means selling sexual abuse videos of their kids, and when we find like I mean we don't deal with the actual arrest, but we are part of like the rescue, and so our police that we partner with, they tell us like mom 80% of the time online it's the mom that's doing the abuse. They're
Yeah.
never remorseful. They're like defensive, like what was I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, sell yourself over your child, but
Mhm.
I
Mm.
just right when you're talking about money, and what the West has compared to third world countries, like it's
Yeah.
so diverse that that can be like really overwhelming to think like how can we ever make a
Mm.
difference or stop it.
So, Brittany, then that, I mean, that leads to a good question then. And normally I try to keep the shows to an hour, but I mean,
Oh yeah.
this is also good. But how can the people here in the West and other parts of the world, like give us three ways that we can support what you're doing there, and the best, safest way, most productive way to help the people there.
So specifically in my region, the online videos are the number one form of trafficking, or exploitation. And then even in the Philippines, northern Mindanao is just the hot spot. So
Are they selling,
I
are these like on a like VHS? Is
yeah,
it like digitally or
it's
what?
like so it's two different ways, and it's usually some like server in like Eastern Europe. There's a middleman that's making the
Mm.
most money,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
and so the Filipino government will partner with the U.S. State Department, and when they know, so it's two ways. They're either making videos and then they're selling them to a website, or it's a live video, which is just heinous because I mean it's like a few weeks ago was an infant that was
Oh,
having things, and so when you're on
no.
a live video, the guy can request something to be done, right? And so that it's like just the most depraved,
Oh.
worst acts of man, and it's, you know, in private, and it's a kind of anonymous, or they think it is. And so when it's a live video, they try, usually here, even because you can lock your doors and close your house up, it's very hard to catch. And so, at least in the Philippines, it's usually, if they're older kids, they tell their teacher, because they've been groomed to think this is normal, and so they don't know they shouldn't share it. So, like, our part of our prevention is like teaching teachers how to report
Ah,
safely.
yeah.
But and then we also go to do trainings in communities of like how to, like, if you it's 100, it's literally 100 degrees today. If there's a house, all the windows or doors are shut, like something is going on inside, like
Ah,
that's
mhm.
not normal. So then we teach the community like how to report, like if you see something,
Mm.
you know what to do.
So
So
are these videos accessible to people in the West and outside
yeah,
of men?
somehow I don't know, like I guess it's on the dark web or
Ah,
website.
okay.
And so the live videos, like every now and then, our government or the Filipino government will partner with the U.S. State Department, and they'll
Okay.
bust in somewhere and get the IP address, and then they, in the U.S., they'll track the IP addresses and then arrest, because they're pedophiles, they're
You're
children,
right.
and
Yeah.
it's disgusting. And so, and then they're arrested. So, like, we had one social worker, and he came in, and it was a mom and a 11-year-old boy, her son, and he
Yeah.
said so you always have to have a social worker go in and grab the child, even the police don't do that. And he saw the screen, and it was like a Zoom call almost, and all of a sudden they all started clicking off. But that one was with
Oh.
the U.S. State Department to arrest at least all the Americans that were watching that video. So
So number one, don't participate in child pornography.
yes, because I mean, even what we, at least in Asia, so much porn is forced. It's a girl locked in a room, or a girl's locked in an apartment, and they have to do that. Or
Mm.
they're saying like, we're holding your family, we're doing this unless you do this
Wow.
act. And so, like, I don't know, I guess there's no way to stop men from watching porn, but just know that is this forced prostitution. That is a
Mm.
trafficking. Those girls are
Mhm.
enslaved usually. And then
Yeah.
especially with the child, like that's a level of perversion that I don't know. You can't. I don't know if they can ever change, but I
Yeah.
think the other thing too would just be to raise awareness of like having, say, just I don't know, maybe men wouldn't care, but like, do you understand like what you're supporting if you watch this or you pay for this?
Mm.
It's really hurting the third world. And
Yeah.
so I'm not sure how else to accept, you know, raise awareness or to talk about it. Like, this is happening in the third world, and the first world is keeping it going, you know. So
Yeah.
or even
So
there's a lot of like just online awareness and things you can take on trafficking and like what it
yeah.
does, just to be educated about it. Or I mean,
Can people give to help your
uh,
organization? Are you
yeah.
willing to share it? Or and if it's not safe to do so, don't. I mean,
No, you
maybe
can
we
totally
can think
share.
about it.
I can
Okay.
send you the link. So yeah. Like what we do, like that goes, if someone, if you just give, then we use it to our ministry. But some people give specifically to like, I want this to go towards a seminar, a prevention seminar, or I have
Mhm.
some people that are like, I just, you know, when a kid is rescued, we give them a set of, they're rescued with whatever they have on. Sometimes that's not much. So they're
Mm.
given all their toiletries, and then, you know, underwear and a clean set of clothes. And if it's, well, usually a teddy bear, even old, like an 18-year-old wants something.
Sure.
So they can go towards like just rescue kits, or just, then we also have, I do like take the social workers and police officers on refresh days or safe house moms, and I just take them scuba diving, to give them a break. So you can always sponsor a refresh day or something like that. So, but
And
I
they can
house
do
it on
all
my
of
website.
this on the site?
Yeah, on my
Okay.
website, or it's through
What
my,
go
yeah.
ahead.
My organization is Commissioned to Every Nation, C10. So Actually, I think I'll text it to you, but I think it's just c10.org/Brittany um,
Okay.
is my website.
Okay.
So, and it's not
And then
face for safety, by the way. It's the back of a Muslim friend and her kid at the beach. But that's the website.
okay, got you. So when you're in the States, are you available for speaking engagements for awareness workshops and things like this?
Yeah, usually last time I was home, I spoke at a anti-trafficking conference just outside of Chicago. It was focused on Asia, trafficking in Asia. Like it's so different in America
Mm,
than it is in Asia. So usually like India, Thailand, Philippines, we're all lumped together. So yeah, I do that, and then I speak every time I'm home. I go to Texas, Wisconsin, Philadelphia, and of course Savannah. But I speak at all in churches in all of those locations. So
okay. All right. Cool. Um, wow, we've gone way over an hour.
um,
That's okay. We're going to have you back on again at some point. Any last thoughts that you want to share with the viewers?
um, I would just say I think if you're able, the greatest thing you can do to your kids is expose them to the rest of the world and other cultures. I was fortunate enough to be able to see it firsthand and travel and experience other countries. But
Yeah.
even if you don't have a passport, at least like go to a local market, like an international market in your city, and just get to know other people. Like it really does change your view. And I think if the people that you have stereotypes about, I mean, in America, it's probably mostly Muslims. Just be intentional about finding one and just asking what their story is, because it will blow your mind, and it'll blow
Yeah.
your mind of like what other countries, like what people have to go through, how blessed we are, and how much they want to be in our country. But also, it's some of the things that will surprise you is like, when I lived in South Africa, um, we had this like a meme that hung in our house, and it was like these two little African kids looking out over this beautiful landscape, and they were saying, you know what, we heard American kids like sit in their house and just play on the computer all day, like how sad it is for them, like, and then the other kids saying like we should take up a collection or something. And so I think sometimes like you may think different is sad, and sometimes it is, there's definitely needs, but sometimes someone else's life, if it looks bad to you, it's their reality, and they're happy. And I go so many places here, the poorest of the poor, and they're content, and like
So
they may
much.
need some help with rice, but like they're so happy. And
So
so
much.
I would just say like, yeah, don't. Now I do believe, like, I came to the Philippines and I assimilated. I speak the language, I know the culture, because I'm a foreigner here, and I expect to do that to live in this country. And so I do think people should do that when they come to America. But yeah, don't think like their life or their weird to you is like makes them unhappy. Like they don't all want to be us. So anyway, just have
Man,
a
that's
worldview.
so much wisdom. That is really, it's very insightful. I remember being in Iraq and was there with some widows and orphans as a result of ISIS, and they were the happiest, most joyful, and they didn't have anything, like these widows are trying to help care for these orphans, and neither of them really have anything, but they're finding a way to start a school and, to come together and help one another. And they were just so filled with joy and, and very hospitable, even though maybe they didn't have that much. And I arrived there thinking I'm coming to help them, and I walk away feeling like the one who was blessed and helped. I'm like,
Yeah, it really will. Like, just the kindness of strangers is overwhelming. I think coming from our culture where
yeah,
it is more cold and independent, and here, definitely in Asia, it's so community. I mean, sometimes I gotta go and close my bedroom door and be like, "Okay, community, please stay out now." But it is just with people
yeah,
that don't know you, that like would give you a hand, or you miss a bus and they're like, well, let me help you find a new route or something. um
yeah,
it is overwhelming. So sometimes in this
yeah,
work I can be cynical, and it actually is hard to like not be upset at like American men sometimes. Like I just, because I'm like, you're anyway, like that's something I have to deal with because I am very
I'm
much
tracking with
American,
you.
you know.
I'm tracking with you so much.
But um but and I and lately just with building this house and trying to be extorted so much, like I have gotten like really cynical, and you see such an evil side of the world.
Yeah,
And I start out not trusting people. I'm like, you have to earn my trust, whereas like
right.
10 years ago I'd be like, I trust you, but you have to break it, you know. And so it's hard for me, but I have like a really good community here. I have great friends, you know. Like Friday is a holiday, we're all going to the beach. And I mean, I'm most of my friends flotation device because they can't swim, and that's fine with me. But you just like have that core group that like are just kind because they're good people, you know. And
Yeah,
that like can heal so many wounds, you know.
it's true. It's true. And you've sustained more wounds than any one human being should. So, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us and just opening your heart and sharing all the things that you've shared, and giving us a tiny peek of Mindanao, Philippines. And, we'll put the link in. And when you're in the States, let us know. And you know what, we'll collaborate. I can put that up on the Sacred Earth Journey and the cultural stewardship .com websites. And if people want to, or we can do it either way, we could still just put it on there, and then they can just keep track. So
Yeah.
that when you're in the States, if somebody wants to bring you in to speak, we can make that happen. So
Yeah, or even coffee. Or yeah, I have a lot of coffees when I'm home. I would love for someone to buy me a burger and we'll have a meal. I'm just kidding, but I I do love sharing. Like, I mean, one, what I do, and to raise awareness about trafficking. But I do love the Philippines, and I love the people here. And
yeah,
I see a very dark and evil side to it, but that is not the majority of what the Philippines is. It's the
right.
most beautiful nation in the world. We just got voted like #1 beach in the whole world in El Nido. And
Wow.
you know, there's so many amazing aspects, and so I don't ever want people to think like bad of this country. You know, there's evil everywhere,
Yeah.
you know. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this is a great place. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brittany. Thank you guys for joining another Sacred Earth Journey Roundtable, where we travel the world unfiltered and strangers become tribe and global peace begins at kitchen tables. Ciao.